We are really delighted and honored as this part of Hanukkah to welcome into this space and to this conversation Jaime Brown, Aviva Brown, who is a member of Temple Emmanuel. Aviva, how are you doing, Jaime? I love your names.
I am doing really well. Things are busy, but I'm sure everybody's busy at this time of year. It just feels especially busy for me right now. But yeah, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be with you.
Well, thank you, Jaime. And as we take this next Hanukkah talk forward, really there are two reasons that that I wanted to speak with you. The first reason is because you are a noted author. And you've been working on children's books. Jaime, I know a lot of people at Temple Emmanuel and a lot of people tuning in, have seen your books,
Hmm.
have read your books, have used your books. Talk just for a moment, however, for those of us who need a refresher course, or for those of us who don't know, why is it that you walked into this world of writing to begin with?
I don't know. No. Well, it started when my fourth child, Miriam, was born. I had had a really rough pregnancy with her, and my house had kind of like gone to pot. And after she was born, I had all this energy, and I'm like, okay, we're going to clean everything. And I walked into one of the kids' rooms and I like tripped over a stack of books. And they were all these books that we've gotten from like PJ Library and books that I had purchased about being Jewish. And I don't know, I just looked at them and realized like there were no books that had Jewish children of color in them, which doesn't mean that they don't exist. They're just very few and far between. And I was like, okay, well, if there's not a book, I'll just write one, because that's how I operate. I come up with really random ideas and then make them a reality and sit there the whole time wondering why. Why did I choose to do that? But
Yeah.
it turned out really well. I wrote my first book, Ezra's Big Shabbat Question, featuring Rabbi Andy. Oh my gosh, you're like the star of the show.
Thank you.
And then I wrote another book called Not Now Mara, which is available on Amazon. And I wrote a book with my friend Rivka Bedick Schultz called I Looked Into Your Eyes, a poem for new families. That one's new, and I'm really excited about it. It's like a poem for welcoming babies and children into your family, and it shows like lots of diverse families because it's not just new babies. Like kids are adopted, they're fostered, so we have that whole thing in there, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful book. I love it.
Jaime, with the magic of the internet, go ahead and show us these books. So this is the newest book, I
Yeah,
Looked Into Your Eyes, a poem
home
for
for
new
new
families.
families. And I'm actually going to show a little bit of the inside because the illustrations are just gorgeous, I think. Um, and like it really is, I mean, it's just a beautiful book. But for like the first page, it says, you know, the first time I looked into your eyes, I laughed like Sarah. And then it goes on to have, lots of things with biblical characters. And we've got like the gamut from couples adopting and, same sex couples and single parents. And of course, there's ethnic diversity. And I just like it's a beautiful book. It makes me cry to read it, which sounds so trite because I wrote it and I know what it says, but it's really beautiful. And then my first book was Ezra's Big Shabbat Question, which is actually currently sold out, and I am working very hard to get it available in paperback. Um, but part of the issue with that is that I needed to have it re-illustrated into a different size because it's hard to print landscape. And the illustrator has had lots of issues going on with COVID and all that kind of stuff. So we're almost there, but not quite. But here's the inside of Ezra. You can see Rabbi Andy and Ezra, which is based on my second son, Evan. But yeah, so those are my books. I try to make sure that they show the Jewish experience as it is today. Jews of color, Jews of, all sexual orientations and gender identities. I think that's really important. So that's what I try to do
Yeah, I would say that
in my
these are
work.
very reflective of real stories, real experiences within the Jewish world. What I also love about your books, and I'll just say personally, is that as you're reading them, either together with a kid or you're reading them to a child, that they really leave open the room for you as a parent or you as a reader to continue talking and
Yeah.
to continue teaching or to continue listening and hearing questions like why. Ezra's big question, in fact, starts off, just with this idea of questions and how they
Mhm.
motivate us and move us forward. And so they really open themselves up to great dialogue between reader and listener.
Yes.
And
Um,
just fantastic. Now, recently, your book appeared on a pretty, I would say, honorable list. Tell us a little bit about that and what that's been like.
my book was on the list of 11 books about Jews of color that was published by reformjudaism.org. And it was an updated list. So I almost feel bad. Like, did they kick someone off? Did they just expand the list? I don't know, but it was featured, and I was like so shocked and surprised and thrilled because reformjudaism.org is this huge organization, very important for Reform Jews like myself. And they probably sent that out to thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, if not, a couple million. And so people got to hear about the fact that I have this book. And wow, I'm not somebody who has a publishing deal. I write my books, I publish them myself, and I'm just a very small time operation. And to get recognition on that level, that national level, feels really good.
Well,
And to get feedback from readers, especially about how much they love the book, feels really, really good.
Well, as a congregation, as a community, we are incredibly proud of you. Just one more question about writing. I imagine that there are some other ideas that you have
Yeah.
and some other thoughts you have. Is there something that you want to give us a quick preview on, or maybe take us into your
Yes.
creative thinking right now?
I am actually, when I started writing, Ezra's Big Shabbat Question is about, like, the main character is my son who was, gosh, he was 7 at the time. He's 10 now. No, was he 7? He was 8. I don't know. I have a lot of kids. But I mean, it's been a couple of years, but I wrote stories for all of my kids, where they're the main character, even if the family doesn't necessarily look like our family. And the one I'm most excited about is called Shalom Natan. And that's for my older son, Nathan. And I usually change the name to be something related to their name. But I couldn't think of anything. So he just got Natan, which is his actual Hebrew name. But it's a conversion story. It's about a child and his family as they go through the conversion process to become Jewish. Um, I actually just saw that there's a book coming down the pipeline from one of the big publishers that's about conversion. But when I wrote the story, I was like, there are no books out there for kids who are converting. And that is something that happens. Like, families convert with children. And I wanted there to be at least one book out there that reflects that experience. So I'm really excited to work on that, probably in 2021, maybe 2022. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Jaime, this gift that you've given to families and obviously giving to children, right? So that they can see themselves or at least see their story reflecting it, just so impressive. I want to shift just a little bit in our conversation because, as you're talking about, I mean, you said, look, I've got a lot of kids and you're focused on children and families. Tell us a little bit now about what it's like parenting during, the past 8 months. Parenting to begin with has its joys and its challenges. But for those of us maybe who don't have children at home or children have moved out or whatever has it been, take us a little bit into your world now during these past 8 months, especially as we head into the end of the year and Hanukkah.
Um, I would say if I had to sum it up in a word, the word is survival. um, we've had to let a lot of things go that I used to feel like were very imperative. We must have this, we must do this kind of things. And this year has just shown me that no, what we must do is be flexible. Um, Whatever it takes to make sure that everybody is fed, clothed, bathed, which is more of a struggle than you might think.
Mhm.
um, and, as mentally and emotionally well as they can be by the end of the day, that's what we're focused on. So, I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't really get as angry about my kids' homework as I used to do. And like Hebrew school, they go when they go. It's not, I feel comfortable saying that I have children in therapy. And to me, that's a bigger priority right now than Hebrew school because they need help coping with all of this, just like I need help. I'm in therapy. Um, it's a really difficult time in general. It's especially difficult for parents, I think. I envy some of my friends, or like I have nieces, adult nieces who have kids, and they have toddlers, and they're like, oh, it's so difficult because we're just stuck at home for 13 hours. And I remember having toddlers, and I know that that is difficult for sure. I don't want to take away from that at all. But at least on a toddler level, it's difficult because they're cooped up, but they're not also dealing with the mental piece of knowing that there's a pandemic, the fear of, getting too close to people. We don't take our kids out very much, but when we do, we're like, okay, you got to stay 6 feet back, make sure you wear your mask. And all of that can make them have some real anxiety. Then, we go to the store, we make a Target run, and they have to go with me. And, a couple days later, we get, Mama, I'm scared that I have COVID because we were out in public. And what if I caught it from someone? And I'm like, honey, it is December. You probably just have a cold. But of course, in my mind, I'm freaking out because I'm also thinking, oh my God, I took them outside and now they have a cough. What if they have picked up COVID? So I have to try to ease their anxiety, hide my own, and also try to tell myself to like chill out a little bit because it is December and they do probably just have a cold. Um, but everything seems a little bit more heightened and stressful than it usually is. So basically, we're just surviving and looking for those golden moments in the midst of turmoil. And I will say that having 4 kids, because I do have 4, earlier I just said a lot, sometimes I don't remember, it's a big number, but having 4 kids, there are more golden moments probably than I think of. And so I have to try to catch them when they're happening and hold on to them for those times when it does get really stressful.
Yeah, I want to ask one more question, but you've got kids that are ranging from relatively new arrival all the way up through middle school at this point.
Yes.
That's the range
My
also.
my youngest is 2 and my oldest is 12.
Right.
Um, and so that it's kind of all different, 2, 7, 10, and 12. We have all sorts of developmental levels going on. And like my toddler is basically in heaven because everybody's at home all the time. My older 2 kids are less social, so they are okay with being at home most of the time. My 7-year-old misses going to see her friends. Um, and then, of course, after so many months of being on top of one another, there's a lot of bickering and stuff. And sometimes I'm just like, kids, I need you to just chill. And they're trying, but it's hard when you can't get away from one another.
Yeah. Jamie, there are so many other questions. I'm really grateful for your openness in talking with us because I think as we're talking, there are likely many other parents who are hearing their story or at least a variation. One thing about this pandemic, about this time of COVID and Corona, is that it's not like there's just one segment that's going through this. I mean, this
Right.
is but we each come in this. So let me shift just really quickly as a last question. Tell me what you're looking forward to during this Hanukkah this year, or maybe you and the kids are looking forward to. Is there something that really stands out for you?
I am actually just looking forward to lighting the menorah each night. We do gifts, but we don't do them every night. We make sure that one of our traditions is that one night we give the kids money for tzedakah. And so they get money, but they know that it's for them to spend. And we usually will get food and donate it to the food pantry or something like that. But I'm just really excited for the peacefulness that comes when you're lighting the light. And also, with 4 kids and a family of 6, we've decided that the baby, who's 2, can light this year with help, lots and lots of help, but she can. So by night 8, we've got quite the blaze going, and that's like my favorite thing. So just excited to keep it low key, no stress. It's one of the things I love most about Hanukkah. It's awesome.
Well, that is a great note for us to end on. Low key, no stress, lots of light, and your light should just continue to burn very brightly in our community. It is a light of goodness. It's a light of hope. And Jamie, Aviva Brown, thank you so much again for being here as part of our Hanukkah stories this year.
Thank you so much for having me.